speaker. This is where we're at right now, and this is where we're going to be talking about B-BBEE. Of course, this is a very complex, and the landscape is ever changing. So how do you steer your business through this? Here to update us and give us some practical advice, we've got Deon Oberholzer. Deon is the Group CEO of Gestalt Growth Strategies. It's a business with wide interests in BEE consulting, business development, enterprise development, mergers and acquisitions, BEE investment, as well as incubation. He's the co-founder and CEO of Vericom, a verification agency that achieved and retained the coveted SANUS accreditation until the company exited the verification industry in 2017. Deon's with us. B-BBEE, steering your business through the code. Deon, thank you.
Testing. Thank you. Do I have a control? How does it operate? This on the screen. Okay, I want to start off with just a couple of points. I will not take it personal if you all leave now. It's fine. It's okay. I understand. It's a very comforting situation for me to be in. I recognize it. BEE is always the very, very last thing on the agenda. People you talk to are normally very, very tired of talking about it. And normally the only way in which you can get some energy into it is to be offensive or rude about it. So my second point is I just want to apologize in advance if I offend anybody. I intend to, but I apologize. So I will start there. And the important point as well is that there's a lot happening, but I have a question. Is there anybody in the room that knows when the transport sector code is either going to be repealed or replaced? Speak now. Going once. Okay, then I can give you my opinion, we can take it from there. So what we're going to talk about, I'm not going to give you a speech and training on BEE. I think it's old hat. If you want to have more information, I can start by saving you a bit of typing time by giving you the answer to some of the questions you're probably going to ask. When is it going to be over? The answer is never. Is it a tax? Only if you're stupid. And a couple of answers like that. But you're more than welcome to ask those questions, and I will try to answer them when we get there, if we have time. Okay, so which button does take me to the next point? So the discussion point is just what's going on with transformation in South Africa. Where are we? What is this thing about what the minister did? Does it have any impact on your decision-making power and what you want to do about it? And where are we with the transport sector goes? What's the buzz? And irrespective of what the buzz is, what should you do and what should you consider? Now, also take into consideration specifically that BEE is about race. So your view on BEE depends on whether you're black or white. Depends on whether you're a beneficiary or whether you have a responsibility or whether you have both. And there are mixes like that. So these answers always have context. I'm going to make a few pointers on what I think you want to consider about aligning your strategy with BEE, but that's not the bulk of what this afternoon is about. If you want help, obviously you can talk to me. I'm a BEE strategist and a navigator. So you can argue with me about why the mountain is so high and the valley is so deep, but we can also have a conversation about how you can navigate that and get an outcome that works for your business. I didn't make the mountain high, just in case you were wondering. Okay, so here are the timelines. So in 2007, we had the codes. In 2009, we had the integrated transport sector code, really quickly. Then 2013, something happened, amended codes came on live, then they came into effect. In October 2015, the first threat went out. If you're in a sector, align, okay? 2015. What happened in 2017, which is why I underline it, is something that you probably want to take into consideration, is they repealed the construction sector code on the 17th of February 2019. Most companies have a financial year end at the end of February. Companies in the construction sector that were happily saying, we have our sector code, we can just carry on business as usual, had 28 minus 17, 21 days to comply, if my maths are right. Okay, no, my maths are wrong. The draft transport spectre came out on the 26th of February 2016 for public comment, and then since then lots of other stuff have happened. There's been amendments to the rest of the codes in 2018, the Yes Initiative was launched, and then there were some amendments to the codes in 2019. We are now 5 years, 3 months, and 3 days of silence on the transport sector code. Why? Because the people that are in the industry don't want it to change, because it's easy. Why would you want to change something that's easy? The people that wanted to change want to make it more difficult. So there's an interesting debate going on saying, okay, well, what is going to happen? Now, there's no clear answer, because I really tried to answer, but I'm going to give you some quotes. The official feedback is that this is the transport sector, don't even have a sector council to push for the finalization of the revised transport codes. The minister is under pressure to repeal the transport sector codes. And this is a quote from a connection of mine. I personally spoke to the minister and he confirmed that they are seriously considering repealing the codes. So yes, it's most likely going to be repealed. The question is when? No idea. Okay? But it's probably going to happen sooner rather than later, for the simple fact that it's the bane in the government's eye at the moment, in terms of the fact that everybody else is aligned but not the transport sector code. The problem is it's probably impossible to fix it, because it's just too complex. There are too many people that have to come together to come to us and saying, here's what it's going to be. I don't think they will gazette the draft one. I think there's a more likelihood that they simply scare the system and say, okay, it's repealed, you have to comply with the normal codes and then take it from there. Does it mean you have to walk out of the room panicking? No, not really. So what you want to do is you want to future-proof your business. You want to say, what should I do and how should I respond to it? The first thing is you must understand the risk to your business. If you don't have a BE certificate for a period of a couple of months, how bad is it? If it's going to be that bad that you might lose all your contracts, not doing anything might not be a good option. Please make sure that you understand how big a company you are in the context of the existing codes and the new one. Obvious. Because if you're a 35 million turnover generic company, you're a QVC in the new codes, and those numbers didn't change very much. So you need to know where you are in the scheme of things so that you know what you need to do about it. I think have a strategy is really important, because this is like the elephant in the room or the scary monster around the closet for many companies saying, but I can't do this, it's going to kill my business. It's not going to kill your business. You can do it in a way that it's an investment. You can do it in a way that you actually get a really good score out of it. Under the new codes, you can get to a level 1 with 10% black ownership. Let me repeat that. Under the generic codes, you can get to a level 1 with 10% black ownership, which means that it can be done without killing your organization if you feel that this might be that kind of threat. If you have a plan and you're clear that as soon as something goes wrong in your business in terms of codes are being changed, you can then call up the plan, implement it. Your clients will probably be happy. They are not going to turn around and say, you must have done this, because that's what happened in the construction sector code. Government said, when people complained about it, they said, well, you should have known. Well, the argument here would be, you had 5 years to prepare. Now, I stopped saying to the transport industry 4 years ago that you should prepare for it, because it's 4 years later and nothing has happened. So I think the important thing and the point I want to make is just be prepared. Now, on the ownership side of it, I think it's important that you sort that out. And the reason for that is there's a lot of fronting happening, and I'm going to talk about that specifically. But the bottom line is, once we know, we move. Okay. So when you approach strategy for BEE, the very first thing you have to define is what is success. Is success being a level 1? Is success being a level 4? Is success being a level 8 and you just comply? What is success? And I'm going to come back to that, because we don't all understand the same. But the point is, get the points you need from a scorecard so that it becomes a benefit to your business and not a detractor. At what cost do you want to do that? The smallest realistic investment that you can apply to that so it doesn't become another tax. Make sure that your business benefits from it. Why would you spend money on something that's not going to benefit your business? And if you can't, the Afrikaans is a very good saying, which I'm going to use, I'll try and translate it, om die kleitjie by die oor te kry. There's a thing about connecting the dots to say that, how can BEE be a benefit to my business? Well, I'll explain that to you. It's an important point about aligning your business culture to make sure that you don't do things that breaks the business from a culture point of view. You want to be able to do things that your staff is going to be happy with. If you only train your black staff, your white staff is going to be upset. If you only promote the white staff, the black staff has a right to be upset. So you've got to look back and say, does it fit my business? And then the last thing, and very important, don't do fronting. there's an increasing risk confronting that could end you going to jail. And we don't want to do that. That's not good for business. Okay. What you really want to do is understand how BEE can be your benefit. If you were a level 1 black woman-owned organization, would you grow? Would it be a benefit? Or would it not matter? If the answer is, I can use it as a competitive strategy, then the investment to get there is comparative to the benefit that you can get from it, the investment, the benefit. If the answer is, you know what, it's going to make no difference, well then don't invest in it because it's not necessary. In the transport sector, there's a lot of players that will say that it can't ever happen. And again, it's the thing about, if there are going to be a change in rules, just be better than the competitor. We all know the story about running away from the lion. You must just run away from the other guy. You don't have to run away from the lion. So here we have a situation, look at your business and say, I want to be ahead of the pack. And then how can I do that in a way that makes the most sense? Okay, then the introduction of the YES program. That was an initiative you would have read about in the newspaper. You can use it in the transport sector. And let me just make a point about the transport sector. Nothing has changed since you last looked at it. So until it changes, it hasn't changed yet. But the YES program is available. You can get 2 free levels. You employ young people under the age of 35 in any capacity. There's a lot of rules about it. You have to meet a couple of things. You can't do it, replace points, etc. But there are exceptions. It's really useful if you are going to grow as an organization and recruit new people into your company. Very, very useful. Because if you, depending on your size, you might only have to appoint 2 new people in new positions every year and get 2 levels for free. And it's almost for free then. So if you don't understand the YES program, I know it's a bad subject to have in the middle of an economy under severe pressure, but if you are going to expand or grow your organization because you got your level 1, it's quite useful to use that in order to achieve the results. I'm not going to ask the question if there are anybody in the company that has a 51% black shareholder in their business, because I don't want to put you on the spot. So let me talk about a hypothetical company. And I'm specifically talking about a white company with a 51% black shareholder. Okay, so that's what this subject is about. The first thing is, if you have a business that has a 51% black shareholder, is it fronting? The answer is probably. And I'll explain to you now, and especially if you listen to the wrong advice. But can you do business and be 51% black owned without fronting? So let me just ask the question in a more specific way. Can a white South African have a business that he can charter the future thereof and have 51% black shareholding without fronting? Yes. Okay. Can you do it in this style? Probably not. Because if you have a structure like this, and it's very common, and it became very common when the exemptions came out and companies up to 50 million could be exempted from compliance, let's go find somebody that I can make my black shareholder, and then we'll run. So we have an agreement. But the problem is, as a 51% shareholder in a company, you're entitled to some rights. So the only way in which you can make this work and continue managing your business as if you're the owner is to take those rights away from you. So I have a company, I have a 51% shareholder, he behaves, he's always very kind to me, I pay him a lot of money, he does absolutely nothing, sounds familiar. But the fact is you're misrepresenting your structure because he's not really the controlling shareholder. He just takes the position of the controlling shareholder. Now, we'll talk about the B Commission in a moment. She's really identified this as the place where bad people go. And she's going to come after a lot of companies and make as much noise as possible because there's a lot of stuff happening in that space. I'm just going to share you 2 models. If you look at the one on the right-hand side, you have a 49% white shareholder, a 10% black shareholder, and a 41% black shareholder. Because who's in charge of the company? Well, the shareholders are, as per all partnerships. But you haven't taken the right away from a shareholder. There's the biggest minority shareholder. There are other shareholders. They work together. Yes, they can vote together, but what do the shareholders typically do? They appoint the board. So you can have a structure on the right where you're not taking anything away from somebody. So you're not saying, I'm making you the 51% shareholder and I'm taking this away from you. You're simply saying we have more than one shareholder and we work together. Most companies in South Africa that doesn't have an owner-managed situation have more than one or two shareholders, and they find ways of working together. And then there's a structure on the left-hand side through a holding company where your white company typically has 70% of the whole company, that has 70% of the company, and off you go, there you go. I wouldn't advise that for exemption. But you know, it's a very common structure in complex South African organizations. So on the left-hand side, who runs the company? So there are ways, and these are just two examples, in which you can implement ownership legitimately within the rules without ending up in a situation that you can get fundamentally into trouble. This thing's going to fall off in a second. Okay, what did the minister say? The Minister Ibrahim Patel came out when Coca-Cola launched, or Bevco launched their worker participation scheme a couple of months ago, came out, was very happy with it. On the 1st of May, he said, I'm going to come out with new rules and an interpretation about how worker participation in companies is going to work. Okay, and this comes after a lot of controversy about 2 years ago when the B Commissioner ripped out most of the broad-based ownership schemes and made everybody go back to the drawing board and cost the economy millions of rands by reforming BEE ownership for broad-based participation. He basically took the BEE Commission's interpretation and shot it out of the galaxy. And I'll show you some of that now. You can do black ownership as a profit participation with no real equity. Completely acceptable. You can focus, there's a strong focus on worker participation. We can expect the unions and this thing is going to fall off. And the workers to push this, so you can expect that there will be. Quite a few of our clients have come back and said that they, well, this is really complicated. Let me see if I can fix this. Maybe my ears are not big enough. Okay, sorry guys. Okay, so we expect that there will be from the worker a pushback. Is saying that they want to participate. There's been one of my companies, a listed company, and the unions already walked in and said, listen, they want shares. Now, there's going to be a process around that because it's not necessarily based on business principles. Just give me the shares. It's not going to happen. But what do we do? How do we respond to that? And the interesting thing about that, it's not just a black owner, white owner thing. It's a worker thing that's going to be pushed back on that. So you can be legit, have it beneficial for staff, and not be infronting. And you can have a class of beneficiaries, not a list of beneficiaries. So they opened up the definition of broad-based way back to what it was originally and what it was originally intended before the B Commissioner got involved. You can have fiduciaries vote on behalf of the beneficiaries, and you don't need to buy them out when they leave their employment. So the outcome of that statement, although a lot of people didn't miss it as a big thing because it was a worker promotion, the point actually that came out is you can put in a broad-based scheme within your organization that has young students as a benefit. And Ongama referred to a conversation him and I had. We have 16 students come from poor backgrounds that we are taking through studies by utilizing that through ownership structure. So what is the commissioner versus the minister? B Commissioner said, do not use trusts. Minister said, trusts are fine. B Commissioner said, ownership is ownership. It is never for the purpose of development. Minister said, it's great for development. We should use it more for the development of people. And it's fine for bursaries. It's fine for studies. She said it must be clearly identified, the ownership scheme must be clearly identified, and they must be able to exercise their rights as if they are the shareholders. Minister said, not really, as long as there's a category of beneficiaries. So you can have young African women from KwaZulu-Natal as your defined benefit class, and that's fine. And the fact that you have somebody getting a bursary doesn't entitle them to a bursary next year, so that's okay. Beneficiaries must receive the same economic benefit as all other shareholders. Not really. It's partial profit participation is okay, and it's fine if you skip a year, as long as you behave in a reasonably moral sort of behavior. Beneficiaries must ultimately be unencumbered owners of the shares that they are invested in. Not even close. So if you had an intention of looking at black ownership in your organization, this does change the playing field quite dramatically. And you probably want to talk to somebody that knows their stuff before you write. And please, please, not your accountant or your auditor or your lawyer. This is not what they do. They will tell you how you can protect yourself by doing it wrong, my opinion, and experience. Have I offended anybody so far? But, okay, just a couple of thoughts on recruitment, and I'm just going to make one point, and it's very relevant in your industry. People regard recruitment as a process of getting people on board to come and work in your organization. Using recruitment agencies and going out and looking for something, it's only applicable if you headhunt somebody. Great. You want a new COO? Go headhunting. You want a new chief financial officer? Go headhunting. Great stuff. If you want to do normal recruitment, you get almost no benefit in your scorecard if you do this. Rather create gates in your company, and even with driver training, it's quite possible. Have a basic internship where you come in for a couple of months before you get a full-time employment. Have customer driver internships that are more custom than the way it's set up in a normal way. Have extended internships. There's different ways. You can have people on learnerships. You can have a work readiness program. We've got 4 of them running. You can have a graduate working student program or an undergraduate working student program. Or you can, and this is interesting, if you have people in specific areas and you get them to register with a professional body. And there are professional bodies in almost every aspect. Finance, HR, variety of them. All of the people employed through here, their salaries for that period counts towards your skills expenditure. Let me repeat that. It's very important. So if you bring somebody into your organization, you pay them 15,000 Rand, they're a graduate, and they come into your graduate program, that 15,000 for the 12 months, make the sum, goes towards your skills spending, which means it's money you don't have to spend because you're already doing it. You put somebody that's a graduate in HR, she's got a BCom in human resource management, you register her with SA, there's a name for it, a human resource professional body, and it takes her 3 years to become a certified human resource practitioner. Her salary for that period is part of your skill spending. So why would you recruit somebody and pay a recruitment fee 15% of the recruitment, get no benefit, and then she works and does the job? There's no difference in what she does. There's a difference in how you mentor her. So that's just some thoughts on that, and I'm wrapping up, making it all work. First point is, do not see BEE as a tax purely to hurt you. It's part of your business strategy. You live in South Africa. These are the realities of our country. BEE, yes, has tremendous benefit for a lot of people. Okay? Integrate it with your core business strategy. Make sure that if you spend money on it, it comes back and benefits your business. Otherwise, you're wasting money. Look for the low-hanging fruit. Understand every point. Know the benefit of being at level 1. Because maybe there's a benefit. A lot of our clients come back and say, there's no benefit of being level 1. Why would I even bother? Did you really look? Now, I don't want to look because I don't want to have the answer that it's worth my while to get to level 1. Yeah. Understand real BE ownership. Don't listen to the horror stories. I can tell you, I can entertain you for the whole evening on horror stories. But listen to this. If you want to understand how to make your marriage work, are you going to consult a divorce lawyer? People are listening. Wonderful. Okay. Recruit for BE in your future, but most important, and this is the last message I have for you, have a plan. Don't say, I'm going to worry about it when it happens. It's possibly going to happen. What is it going to cost you to have a plan? It's not that complicated. Have your level 1 plan, your level 2 plan, whatever it is, under the existing amended codes, in the top drawer of your secretary's desk or your own desk, saying, if this is going to happen, that's how I'm going to respond. Because as a sub 35 million turnover company at the moment, what you have to do to get to level 1 is a walk in the park, by comparison. But if you plan it properly, it's not going to be the end of the world. That's it. That's all I have to say today.
Well, the only question that I've got for you is, will we have access to your presentation?
Oh, absolutely.
Good.
And me, I'm here until after the dinner tonight.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, there you go. Yeah, I think you may have done a really good job. We haven't got an influx of questions for you. Oh, no. Oh, well, excellent presentation. I'm just getting lots of comments coming in, and that's pretty much so what it's saying. I want your presentation, and thank you so much for that.
Thank you. Do talk to me. You don't have to pay me now. I'm here on an invite. I hope to get invited again. I suck at golf, but it was good fun trying it. happy to engage, understand your industry better, and what did I say? I'm here till Sunday. Thank you, everybody.
Fantastic. Thank you. Before you go, I just want to give you a token of appreciation. And a photo and everything. I'm just trying to button up my shirt. I really don't want to be in a photograph. No. There we go. The problem with the microphone stuck to your face.